The Wise James presents.
Andrew was obnoxious, entitled, spoiled, greedy, and he thought was untouchable. I think Andrew has brought the royal family to its knees. I think
that's the thing with a lot of these billionaires and the elites. They think their money makes them untouchable. Ha!
The royal family are in crisis.
President Trump delivered the...
By the way, I get some people commenting on my hair, right? It's literally 5:50 in the morning. It's 10 to 6 in the morning. Do you look your best at 6 o'clock in the morning? I don't think so.
The first State of the Union of his second term as a deeply unpopular leader, at least according to the polls. But he didn't sound like a man on the back foot, and he didn't give any indication that he's about to change course. This was the longest speech in the 236-year history of the president's annual message, and is now so often the case, the amateur dramatics will be remembered better than anything the president actually said. Texas Democrat Al Green was kicked out of last year's presidential address for refusing to sit down. This time it's for brandishing a sign marked "Black people are not apes," in reference to the infamous meme. There were standing ovations for the heroic US Olympic hockey team, for Charlie Kirk's widow Erica, and for a Venezuelan prisoner reunited with his niece after Maduro's arrest. The only mention of the Epstein files, unsurprisingly, came from heckling Democrats, for whom the president had strong words.
No state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we've been talking about this? We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately. Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy, I'm telling you. They're crazy. We're lucky we have a country. With people like this, Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we?
And in a classic Trump trap, skillfully crafted for endless use in TV attack ads, the president did this.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
It makes me laugh how Americans call foreigners aliens. In Britain, an alien has a UFO and comes from Mars. We would never, ever, ever, ever call an immigrant or a migrant an alien because it would make us look stupid. But in America, oh, illegal aliens. Fucking aliens, man.
A clear win for the president, as evidenced by his Cheshire Cat grin for the Democrats who remained firmly rooted to their seats. But he's unlikely to have won the day on the biggest issue for most voters as America heads to the midterms, which is, as so often, the economy. For all the fury over ICE and war in Iran, most voters really care about feeling a bit richer and a bit more comfortable. And at the moment, they simply don't. President Trump's big message is essentially that people don't realize how good they've got it and that everything is better than they think. Well, that was Joe Biden's message too, and we know how that worked out. Joining me to discuss all of this is Natalie Winters, co-host of Steve Bannon's War Room, Riley Gaines, host of The Riley Gaines Show, Brian Tyler Cohen, host of No Lie, and Ras Baraka, the Democratic mayor of New York. Well, welcome to all of you. Natalie Winters, a few things can be true at once. It was a pretty barnstorming speech by Trump for his base. If you like him, I think you really like the speech. I had a lot of people online who like Trump and support him, saying it's the greatest speech they've ever seen. Conversely, all those that hate Trump, it wouldn't have moved the needle at all. But with the midterm elections coming pretty soon now in November, the economy remains the big, I think, Achilles heel, which is odd because it's in really good shape, but the average American isn't feeling it. And if I was a Republican, it would be that really concerns me.
Well, look, I think this State of the Union address was certainly a mixed bag. I think from the State of the Union perspective, President Trump presented a wonderful vision of America. He talked about the tax cuts, what they're doing on energy. I would have wanted to hear a little bit more about what they're doing to get spending down, both from a deficit and debt perspective. I think when you talk about affordability in the economy,
that's actually the best thing for the entire world right now. The most important thing to us in America is their debt and their deficit. If they're running every year on a loss, it means they're never paying off the debt. It means the dollar is never stable. Mortgage prices always go up. House prices go up. Energy prices go up. Everything just goes up. If the Americans actually paid off their fucking debt and stopped running on a deficit every year, the dollar would be more stable. Mortgages wouldn't fly up because some war happened, or energy prices wouldn't skyrocket. Like, it's literally the entire world's economy is based on the dollar. So when the dollar is unstable because of their debt, it causes us problems in Europe. It causes people problems in Africa. It causes literally Russians problems in Russia when the Americans can't do their fucking maths properly. I swear, it really matters.
Economy. The idea of what Doge was doing was something that really resonated with the
Yeah, I actually liked what the Department of Cuts, or whatever it was you want to call it, was. I liked that Elon Musk and Donald Trump were trying to save money and turn the deficit into a surplus and lower the debt, because that meant good stuff for the people of Britain. It meant good stuff for the world economy. It looks like Donald Trump has pocketed more money than he ever saved.
Americans on that messaging front. I mean, I know we've been hearing a lot about DHS, ICE agents, CBP funding. I'm glad that the Democrats have finally admitted that they literally just don't care about a border. I guess they view themselves as representing illegal aliens. I think that's really powerful. I know President Trump talked a lot about immigration, but I think if you look at this address from sort of a state of the Republican Party, state of MAGA, I didn't hear the word mass deportation. I didn't hear the word China. I would have liked to have heard both of those, and I would have liked to have not seen the administration, I think, continuing to make a mistake, which is going soft on the deportations, and I think critically failing to link the issue of immigration, legal and illegal, to the affordability crisis.
Bearing in mind that that's a woman who is a migrant in America, whinging about migration in America. Bear in mind, only white people in America are the migrants, right? The rest are not.
Brian Tyler Cohen, you know, the moment that would really concern me as a Democrat, I think, in terms of something that could be used against the Democrats over the next few months up to the midterms, is the moment when Donald Trump asked the assembled gathering to recognize Anna Zarutska. Now, she obviously is the mother of the murdered Irina Zarutska, this young Ukrainian who was murdered in brutal fashion on a train in North Carolina last year. And this is how this played out.
Set free to kill in America, came in through open borders. Mrs. Zarutska, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina.
See, how long ago did this person's daughter get stabbed on that train? It was what, maybe? It must have been about 6 months ago now. About 5 months ago. And this is her, right? A mother. Distraught and obliterated by her emotional pain, right? Charlie Kirk's wife 1 week after assassination. Oh, yeah. Oh, here we are. Right. That's what it shows the face, but like
Want the latest from
Charlie
around the
Kirk's
world
fucking
explained
wife,
in 10 minutes?
The next day, but no, not the next day, a week and two later, was smiling on camera, putting on a show in a stadium. A week and a bit later. This woman, her child was murdered about 6 months ago. She's still fucking crying. But Charlie Kirk's wife, she was smiling and cheering a week later. Says a lot, doesn't it?
Now, I should preface this before I come to you, Brian, to say Trump was inaccurate when he said he came through because of an open border policy. In fact, the killer of Irina Zaritska was an American citizen born in America.
So he was wrong.
In America. So he didn't come through an open border. However, and I think it's a really important however, the optics of that were awful. If you're looking at that and you see the mother of a young Ukrainian woman, and you've got a lot of Democrats, by the way, wearing Ukrainian, lapel badges and things to support the 4th anniversary of the war and to support Ukraine. If you can't get off your backside and just show her some basic human respect, it's a terrible optic for the Democrats and an illustration to me of just how partisan and tribal the State of the Union has become. The Democrats would have done themselves so much good if they had all just risen to applaud her. Why didn't they?
Look, I don't know why they didn't stand and applaud. I think that mostly they don't want to be pawns in Trump's attack. In Trump's, they don't want to be props or pawns in Trump's effort to turn this into a 2024 campaign redux where he just fearmongers about immigration or any of that issue. I think Democrats don't want to allow Donald Trump to make them turn into those kind of pawns. But more broadly, I think that I don't want to overstate the importance of the optics of the State of the Union. I think we all know that for people who are focused on politics, it's a big thing. And for regular people, it's not a big thing. And it usually comes and goes in a day or so. But I think more broadly, I mean, when looking at how Trump tried to frame all of this, he was more focused on trying to run back a 2024 election redux as opposed to talking about what people are contending with right now. In your opening, you mentioned how that is a dangerous spot for him because he's not focused on the issue that the vast majority of Americans are focused on. So he can try and reframe the conversation as something about immigration. He can try and frame it as something about, dangerous illegals like he always does. But that's not what Americans are focused on. Americans are focused on the one issue that he is pretending he's doing great on. And as we all know, that didn't really work out too well for Joe Biden and the Democrats in 2024.
We'll come back to the panel in one second.
So, mostly I'm not interested in US politics. To be honest, it's mostly boring, but it is entertaining. It's very entertaining. The gossip, the shit that goes on, it's very entertaining. Yeah. So I do try and keep an eye on things that affect Britain and our life. But have you noticed how every single president of the United States over the last 15 years seems to fall into a state of almost dementia, Alzheimer's, or mental geriatricness, right? Within 2 years of being in office. Literally within 2 years of being in office, Biden was a mess. Trump's now a mess. Trump was a mess last time. But Obama changed from a young man to an old man in 2 years. And I've got a feeling that the CIA or the Secret Service gives certain pills or medication to the president to enhance his thinking or give him some extra energy for the jobs of the day, that sort of thing. I honestly think they do, and I think it has the side effect of dementia. So by the time they finish office, the CIA is actually in control, not the president, because they've drugged them up so much they've got dementia. Sounds stupid, doesn't it? That's just my guess.
So just going to be joined briefly by Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Thank you very much indeed for joining me back on Uncensored. What was your view of the speech last night?
I did think that this was a very successful speech by President Trump. The State of the Union is always lively in one way or another. But also, I would like to contrast what some of your panelists there are saying. Mr. Cohen is saying that President Trump is focusing on the issues that Americans are not. I would argue that illegal immigration and legal immigration are part of the affordability crisis that we are seeing in America.
No, not at all. Even if you in America got rid of all your illegal migrants, it wouldn't solve the fact that wages aren't high enough. You literally don't pay your waitresses and waiters enough money. Customers have to subsidize their wage with tips. And if they don't tip them, they get chased down the street by the business's employees to tip the people, right? You in America, right, You don't pay your workers enough, right? So getting rid of all the migrants doesn't solve that problem, does it? Because there's a lot of rich people in America who pay a Mexican guy to clean their pool or be their gardener, right? But if he gets illegally deported and then an American comes in and charges twice the price, you're no longer going to be happy with that, are you? You're going to be, oh, that's not very good. It's the same in Britain. It doesn't matter. If you got rid of all the illegal migrants in Britain, all of them, and the legal ones, it would solve nothing. There would still be a housing crisis. People would still not be being paid enough. Prices would still be too high. You still couldn't get a doctor's appointment. In fact, it would be harder to get a doctor's appointment because 40% of the NHS doctors are non-British born. The pound would crash. Money would be worth less. Mortgages would go through the roof. People would be working in jobs that couldn't even pay their rent anymore. Like, literally, getting rid of all the illegal migrants or migrants in a country is one of the stupidest things you could ever do in your life. It sounds great. Oh, yeah. Britain for the British people. No foreigners. Only white people. I'm a gammon, red-faced, racist prick. Yeah, sounds great, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. Until you realise that some of the most effective businesses for the British are not owned by British people. So they take their business elsewhere. We lose the tax revenue. People lose their jobs. We lose the services and stuff. And bam. We become a third world country. Literally, I swear to God, if they got rid of all the migrants or illegal migrants in America, you would be a third world country. You just do realise when you invaded America and took their land and killed all the natives, you also then did slavery and brought in your own migrants to do the work. You've all literally brought in slaves from Africa, which is migration, right, to do the work for you. And now you're complaining that migrants do all the work.
Under Joe Biden and the one-party Democrat rule, we had open borders that have absolutely decimated our economy, overrun our schools, overrun our hospitals, and is really siphoning and stealing so many hard-earned tax dollars that Americans are forced to pay each and every April 15th. So this is an issue that is focused on affordability. President Trump came in and secured the southern border. No illegal aliens are coming in, and he is working to deport those who are overrunning our system and who are committing fraud. It is a crime to be here illegally, and then on top of it, commit fraud to reap the benefits of the American taxpayer. So this will make things more affordable when we start getting these people who are taking advantage of our generosity in America and really overrunning these programs that are in place to help our most vulnerable.
Okay, so let me just do a quick Q&A with you.
Let me just point out my position on migration. See, in Britain, we have an illegal migrant problem. I solved it 2 years ago, the illegal migration problem caused by Nigel Farage and the Tory parties. I pushed the solution out to all the political parties, every news agent, every media company, quite a lot of journalists, and nobody cared. Like, nobody cares about pushing a solution to this problem. So over the last 2 years, there's been probably 500,000 British people have taken to the streets to either hang flags on lampposts or paint roundabouts or shout at fucking hotels or something or abuse foreigners in the streets, right? Have done that, but none of them have tried to push my solution. So when I go into these racist groups on Facebook and take the piss out of them, I'm well within my rights. These people have spent 2 years fucking shagging a flag, painting roundabouts, and whinging about a problem. And then when I come along and tell them a solution to the problem, I get called a lefty, retarded, wokey. Literally, I can solve what these problems are. These people have a problem with. I can solve all these people's problems, but they insult me instead. So I go into their groups, into their safe space, and tell them facts they don't like. Like the fact that they could have spent the last 2 years pushing a solution to the mass migration problem instead of painting roundabouts and shouting at hotels. But, you know, whatever. These are grown men, by the way. Grown fucking men who are so thick they think painting a roundabout and hanging a flag and shouting at a hotel is more effective to solving a problem than pushing a solution that solves it. That's how thick these motherfuckers are. They are literally the dumbest shit. These people wouldn't have been in the bottom sets of maths. They were in the closet with a fucking teaching assistant because they were below the bottom set of maths. Now, obviously, illegal migration costs our countries a lot of money. There's no doubt about it. It does. But legal migration makes our countries a lot of money. For every something like 100,000 legal migrants that are in Britain, the UK gets something like £4 million tax a year. They are a net positive, not a net negative. Illegal migration's a negative. It costs more than it makes. Legal migration makes more than it costs. So when you remove legal migration, you actually remove money from the taxpayer's pocket.
What is inflation?
Well,
Inflation is the devaluation of a currency. So if you've got 10 £10 notes, they're all worth £10. If you print another £10 note and there's 11 £10 notes, it's now worth £9.90. It's no longer worth £10 because you've inflated the price because you've added another tenner. This is what some countries do. They'll print loads of money because they've got no money, and it lowers the value of the money everyone else already has of that currency. It's called inflation. Germany tried it in World War II, printed shitloads of money, printed too much. It was called hyperinflation. So people were going to, like, the bakers in Germany, and by the time they got from the back of the queue to the start of the queue, the price had changed that much they couldn't afford bread anymore. Right? Inflation is basically mismanagement of your currency by the people in charge and the banking systems. It is the devaluation of the money in your pocket because they're printing too much.
inflation is when
Let's see what she says.
the price of things is over is too expensive because of
He asked what inflation was.
Federal government.
He asked what inflation was, not how it's affecting people. Have you noticed that? Let me just go back here.
What is inflation?
I've explained to you all clearly what inflation is here, very easily.
Well, inflation is when the price of things is over is too expensive.
I'm American. I don't know what inflation is. I know how to make moonshine.
Because of the federal government really squandering the tax dollars. So you have the Green New Scam, hundreds of billions of dollars spent there to provide affordable energy. And it was not affordable. It was never free. It was never discounted.
Okay, yeah.
That money was taken from.
He asked her about inflation, and now she's going on about solar panels, and how solar panels aren't very good. The green energy stuff's bad. Oh, yeah. Tell that to the Colorado River and all the dams it has. Tell that to all the American rivers that have hydroelectric dams that power cities and shit. Right? Is she for real?
From the American
Okay,
people
yeah, I don't wanna-
and forced into the system. It wasn't a free
but
market
hang on.
decision.
Yeah, so my follow-up question was this, though. We both agree America still has inflation. We both agree that means prices are going up. And it seems to me the big problem President Trump has is that notwithstanding that the US economy is in pretty good shape, the average American knows that prices aren't actually coming down. They're still...
Same in the UK. Prices aren't actually coming down. Although yesterday, the Labour government did announce they were lowering the energy price cap, which is the total amount an energy company can charge you for energy. So they were lowering the price cap, and previous to that, they were claiming they had lowered everyone's bills by £150. They didn't. They got a £150 voucher. They didn't. The bill wasn't lowered. The government was just willing to subsidise some of it. And guess who pays the government? The taxpayers. So we weren't actually really making any savings or cuts. The taxpayers just gave the government the money to pay for it, or is going to pay it in escrow in the future, sort of thing. We haven't actually saved any money yet.
still inflation. They are still going up, not at the same rate they were going up, but they are still rising. Do you think that is a problem here?
By the way, the UK's energy bills would have been 30% less for every single residential house if you all listened to me. Literally, you all would have had £500 cheaper energy bills. Not the businesses. I would charge the businesses at market rate, but not residential properties, no. You would get the taxpayers rate, which would be tax-free. Because the taxpayers would own GB Energy, so why would the taxpayers charge themselves 30% extra or 40% extra? No, we charge businesses the market rate, and we give residential families a tax-free rate. So then businesses is subsidising homes, instead of homes subsidising business. Wankers.
For the president.
Wankers.
There is a saying that Ronald Reagan presented saying that there is no such thing as a temporary federal program. There's nothing more permanent than a temporary federal program. And I think that same principle applies here. Yes, there are places that we had to raise prices to deal with this inflation under the previous administration. And it's hard to get those prices back down. And many companies.
So, Donald Trump's average inflation while he was president for the first term, not the second term, was 2.46. Biden's, which was obviously COVID, 9%.
Many small businesses are still trying to recoup from that. But also, we still have a federal government that is spending far too much money. That's why I was a big supporter of the DOGE cuts. And we did not cut near enough of what we could have. I think it would be great in the next term if Republicans keep the majority to have Elon Musk as Speaker of the House. That might be our only shot to actually cut spending.
So you're going to have a South American national who makes money from racist algorithms on the internet and has become the richest man in the world through exploitative businesses practice, right? You want to make him the Speaker of the House. He's not even a fucking American. He's not even an American. And she's literally sat there and complained about migration. You couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up.
But this is a problem that we still have got to get under control. But tying that with the amount of people who are committing fraud, you heard President Trump mention the Somali pirates in Minnesota who are gouging our federal programs and those tax dollars. There is tens of billions, potentially hundreds of billions of fraud throughout our country with
fraud, me mateys,
and so many other programs that are meant to help Americans who need assistance, and they are just rife with fraud. So there are issues that we need to tackle. President Trump is working to secure energy dominance, which will certainly help our economy. The tariffs were a great start at starting to bring in money and tackle.
No, they were just charging you Americans more money. You guys are the ones who paid for it.
The federal government's debt issue that we have. But this has always been a priority for me to cut spending and to be a good steward of the American tax dollar. Yes, prices are still high, but also look at some of the states where prices are high. In Colorado, there are so many regulations and fees. A fee is a tax that the citizens do not get to vote on, but it is forced upon them. And all of that makes it too expensive to live. We have multi-billion-dollar companies who are leaving Colorado and going to states where it's better to do business. And I've even had energy companies in my office just as recent as yesterday saying that the only way they can avoid double-digit rate increases is if the federal government helps stop the regulations in Colorado. It's
So the energy companies are telling the American government the only way they can lower prices is if they get rid of regulations. The reason we have regulations is things like health and safety because humans died. You know, people closing ovens when there were still humans inside cleaning it and then they would get burnt alive. Like industrial washing machines where humans would fall in and then no one would find them till the next day. And they were just working a hard job on minimum wage and there was no safety ever protecting them. There's regulations because of stuff like this. When it comes to energy, there's regulations because of energy is an essential resource. It controls every aspect of our lives. Without that regulation, the energy companies become more powerful and gain more control over governments. Those regulations are not to protect the people. They're to protect you, the government, from being taken over by a business.
Some of these state policies that are still hurting Americans and making it too expensive to live and unaffordable. President Trump is trying to make the affordability a possibility.
Didn't explain how inflation works, though, did she?
Just finally, Lauren Boebert,
Not at all.
advising President Trump about how to try and avoid what
It's called a political pivot. She answered the question with what she wanted to say, not with what the question was about.
many people think is going to be an inevitable beating in
And she thinks she's done well there. She's done terribly. She couldn't even explain what inflation is.
the midterms and losing the House, probably not the Senate, but losing the House, which, as everybody knows in American politics, pretty much turns you into a lame duck president after that. What would...
It doesn't, though. They use this lame duck president thing because it means presidents can't get through policies everyone else rejects. The Democrats would still back and pass through any legislation that is good for America and good for the American people. But the problem is with you Republicans and Democrats, you're not coming up with policies that each other agree on. You always come up with policies that you know the opponent will disagree on, and you try and make out you're right and they're wrong. That's what you do. You don't try and work together to try and make America great. You Americans allow yourselves to fight each other and make yourselves worse. Imagine if you Democrats and Republicans actually stuck your heads together to make some good policies for your country instead of fighting each other. How good would America be? I mean, how good would it be? Seriously. You just wouldn't have these issues. You just wouldn't. It's because of your infighting between political parties why you are so divided. It's the same in Britain. Everyone's divided by politics, religion, ethnicity, and no one's trying to work together to make it a better country. If the Tory party and the Labour Party actually worked together over the last 20 years to make Britain better, instead of fighting each other, claiming they were doing a better job than the other person, we wouldn't have the Britain as Britain. It would still be Great Britain. We are no longer Great Britain. There's nothing great about us at the minute, apart from the people. The country's in a state of despair. But the people, we're all right. We've had worse.
would that advice be?
President Trump needs to continue doing what he's doing, but I would focus my remarks to the Speaker of the House and to the Leader of the Senate, the Majority Leader, John Thune, and say we've got to start codifying
Just making a cup of tea.
what President Trump is putting out from the White House. If we do not codify those issues, if we do not end the standing filibuster and the filibuster and have a standing and speaking filibuster, then President Trump's term is over. So we've got to do our job in Congress, but also we have got to pass the SAVE Act. Democrats cheat. There's so much fraud in our elections. I believe that this last election was too big to rig, and I don't know if we're going to have that same enthusiasm now that we do have a secure southern border, now that the economy is starting to get better. There isn't that drive and motivation.
By the way, she's just mentioned there about fraud in America being a serious issue. President Trump has been charged with 34 felony counts of falsifying businesses' records in the first degree. That's fraud. Donald Trump literally has 34 convictions for fraud. And she is sitting here
Average and to get
as
better.
one of his representatives saying how fraud in elections is a problem. This man was found guilty of committing business fraud on 34 different occasions in the first degree, not second degree, not third degree, first degree business fraud. 34 felony convictions. He is possibly the last person on the planet who has any right to speak about fraud. Anyone. That would be like Jimmy Savile speaking about the dangers of pedophiles. That would be like Saddam Hussein talking about the dangers of mistreating people, your own people. It would be like fucking Russia educating everyone on staying within your borders and not invading anyone. That's what it would be like. These people are crazy. Donald Trump is the biggest convicted fraudster in business in the world I've ever heard of. I've never heard of another billionaire or millionaire who has 34 convictions for fraud in business. Never heard of it. And yet he's president of the United States. And his representatives is here talking to me about fraud being a problem in America. This is the world I live in. Like, this is just... It's crazy. It's crazy.
There isn't that drive and motivation from average Americans to get out and vote because President Trump has had these successes. So I'm afraid of apathy or folks saying, well, it's not as important because that issue is gone and them not showing up. So we've got to pass the SAVE Act. We've got to do our job in Congress to codify and make law what President Trump is doing in his executive orders. And we have got to secure our elections so they cannot be rigged ever against one party.
Lauren Boebert, I really appreciate you coming back on Uncensored. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Let's go back to the panel. Ras Baraka, welcome to your Uncensored debut. You're the Democratic mayor of Newark. It seemed to me that the two moments, if I was a Democrat, where I would in the morning be wincing, one is the one I mentioned to Brian, where I thought it was really reprehensible of Democrats to not stand up and show some respect to Anna Zarutska. But secondly, of course, this whole moment that Trump clearly set everybody up for, specifically hoping for the result that he got, which was a question. And it's a question I'll just ask you as a question, which is, do you believe the first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens?
I think the first duty of any elected official is to uphold the Constitution of the United States.
That's correct. It's to uphold the Constitution of the American people. If you don't uphold the Constitution, you're not protecting the people, because the people are protected by the Constitution. That's how America works, essentially. In England, it's slightly different. We have common law, and then we have criminal law and civil law. It's slightly different, but in essence, in America, your entire legal system is based on that piece of paper. Everything. Your rights of freedom, your right to bear arms, your right to practice religious freedoms, these sorts of things are all guaranteed in your Constitution. And any official person in the American government, their first duty is to uphold that because it's your law. And if they don't, then they're seen as unlawful and criminal because they don't care about the American Constitution. So you don't care about the American people. The American people are protected by the Constitution, or so you believe. I think the right to bear arms is a bit stupid, personally. I think it was fantastic, in the 1700s when you when you got loads of families living in rural locations in the outback of America, in the south and the north, and you got these new towns with gangs and organised crime. I can understand why you think having a gun to protect yourself from other guns was a great idea. Yeah, in the 1700s. In the 2000s, no. You've got people using it to kill kids in schools. You've got people using them to attack people on the streets. Your solution wasn't solved by giving everyone a gun. It was made worse. The only people who benefited from everyone being given a gun are the people who make and sell guns. No one else benefited. The American government doesn't even benefit because they've got to bury the dead innocent civilians. They've got to deal with the public outcry. They've got to deal with... Honestly, the best thing America could do is get rid of your right to bear arms. I know you never will. But that is the best thing you could do for your country, is get rid of the right to bear arms. But you never would.
Uphold the Constitution of the state that they're in. That's what we swear to when we do our oath, when we are sworn in. Any form of government at any level to uphold the Constitution. And the Constitution clearly defines how our behavior is and how we should act, and who's protected. And everybody's protected based on our Constitution, based on the 14th Amendment. of the Constitution, based on the Fourth Amendment, based on many amendments, is very, very clear who should be protected, and that's everyone who steps foot on the soil of our country. It's clear.
Well, that's not with
visitors,
respect.
guests, everybody.
Mr. Mayor, with respect, that's not answering my question. The question is
It is
actually
answering
very
the question.
straightforward.
It's a very
yeah, but do you
straightforward
believe
answer.
that? Okay, but the actual question is, do you believe the first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens? It's not a difficult question.
But it's not.
I'm not being funny, Pierce. You asked the previous woman what inflation was, and she didn't tell you. It wasn't a difficult question. It was a very easy question. And you didn't pull her up on it when she didn't answer it. But this black gentleman, without sounding, like I'm going to incite anything, because I don't know if you are racist. I don't think you are racist, but you have, in front of my very eyes, just treated a black man very differently to how you treated a white woman. You asked her a question about inflation. She didn't answer it. She avoided the question. I answered it quite easily. It's fucking easy. Inflation, for me, as a grown adult, I understand it. She was an American representative of the American government in Trump's administration. Couldn't answer what inflation was. And you let her get away with it. Didn't say a damn word. Just moved on. This guy, you asked him a question, and this was your response when he didn't answer.
Protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. It's not a difficult question.
It's not difficult.
That was your answer to him for not answering the question the way you like. Do you know what I mean? So why have you treated him so differently to the way you treated the woman for the exact same reason? Now, I'm not saying you're racist, Pierce. I'm not saying you're racist. But I could use that to claim you are, because you treated a black man differently to how you treated a white person. Right in front of my very eyes. Right in front of my very eyes. You watch the same thing I'm watching.
Soil of our country. It's clear.
Well, that's not with respect. With respect,
everybody.
Mr. Mayor, with respect, that's not answering my question. The question is actually
answering
very
the question.
straightforward.
It's a very straightforward
but do you believe
answer.
that? Okay, but the actual question is, do you believe the first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens? It's not a difficult question.
No, because he rejected the premise of your question. He believes the American Constitution is what comes first as a public official in America. So when you ask if it's illegal aliens or the American people, you've asked him a question without the correct answer. It's a false premise, Pierce. A lot of you shitbags do this. It's like people come ask me, like, "Oh, are you thick or retarded or something?" Instead of being like, "Oh, am I just not understanding here?" They insult me and think I'm the problem. No.
Question.
It's not difficult. I just don't agree with the context. So
The premise, sir. That's what you disagree with the premise.
you're not going to force me into that context. First, I don't believe that people are illegal aliens. I think that all people are human beings, and as a matter of fact, being
What if you're in the country
America,
illegally?
being undocumented.
You're still a human being who's in the country illegally, aren't you? This is the thing, right? I understand that we have a massive illegal migration problem across the world, and it is only going to get worse, not better, because the populations of the entire planet are going up. However, I am not playing this game where we dehumanize an entire group of people. No, I'm not doing it. I understand that these people are illegal migrants, and some of them are criminals who need to be deported, who are dangerous. That's fine. That's fine. But these are illegal migrant human beings. They are human beings who are illegal migrants, and that is what you need to remember. God forbid that there's ever a nuclear war and America and the UK got nuked and we needed to flee to other countries for our lives and our safety, and then we got treated as asylum seekers and refugees. God forbid that we end up getting treated the way you lot want to treat these people. God forbid that. Because it could happen. Literally, Russia could drop a nuke on Britain tomorrow, right? And, yeah, we could fire one back, but apart from that, we'd be fucked, right? We would have to leave Britain. It would become a radioactive wasteland, and we would have to go and migrate to France, Germany, Portugal, Greece, Africa, America, Australia. British people would have to migrate to other countries. And we would hope we would be treated well as human beings. Imagine if you turn up on these shores and they start treating you like a criminal because you fled a nuclear disaster. Now, I'm not saying that would happen, but if you're going to treat these illegal migrants that way, it's more likely to happen. Far more likely.
In America is a civil offense, it's not a criminal offense.
They are human beings. Regardless of if they're an illegal migrant or not, they're a fucking human being. And I'm not going to treat a human being like a paedophile or a rapist just because someone on their boat was, or someone they crossed the border with was. No. You don't treat someone who's not a Nazi like a Nazi because they went to school with them. No.
I'm sure the children that they're arresting are not selling fentanyl, are not head of cartels, or any of that matter. So it's silly to even have that discussion. But ultimately, you asked me what is our primary duty, and I said my primary duty as an elected official is to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Should we protect residents and citizens of this country? Absolutely. No one would agree with that. But to
You mean to disagree?
Break it down and make it divisive in such a way that there's some people that should be protected and some people that should not, it's just wrong. And that's not what the Constitution states. And when I was sworn in, it says clearly that I should uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of New Jersey.
Correct.
But people
Correct.
who are in the country illegally are there illegally.
There are people that
Those human beings who have come illegally, yes.
there have been people in this country whose status have been taken away. And the interesting thing is when everybody comes into the United States, they don't come into the United States as a citizen. No one comes in.
100 years ago, that man's status would have been the property of a white person. And you want to talk about like an immigrant's status? Honestly.
In as a citizen. Not in the history of this country. You don't become a citizen, then enter the United States. That's not how it works. You come here first and then apply for citizenship and go through a process, which usually takes, unfortunately, a very, very, very long time.
10 years
because
usually.
We do not have a streamlined process, a unified and uniform process here in this country. And which means that anybody that is going through that process.
That is literally how you become a civilian somewhere or citizen somewhere, is you move there and then apply for citizenship. You don't apply for citizenship when you don't even live there because it gets rejected. You can't become a citizen somewhere you don't live. You have to move there and then apply for citizenship, and then you spend 5, 10, 15, 20 years there, peacefully living, crime-free, working hard to get the citizenship. I don't know where some of these racists get the idea that you get a citizenship before you move somewhere. That's not how it works. It's not how it works.
This could be deemed that.
That's like saying the guy who built the invention is the true inventor rather than the guy who came up with the blueprints. And it's always the guy who comes up with the blueprints is the inventor, because the person who builds it is the engineer. The person who fixes it is the engineer. The person who runs the machine is the engineer. The guy who builds the machine couldn't have built it if he didn't have the blueprints to build it. So the inventor of something is always the guy who came up with the idea, not the one who built the idea. Sounds stupid, sounds crazy, I know. But these people would have nothing to build if they didn't get given the ideas of what to build. So it's the people who give the ideas who are the true inventors, not the people who build the ideas. They're the engineers. And I'm also a qualified engineer, by the way. And an inventor, but whatever.
Any point violating some kind of policy, some kind of law, and be detained, whether you're 25, 35, 55, 65, or 10 in this country, which is incorrect. And for people to characterize you as a criminal or an illegal alien is just wrong.
I still laugh that you call migrants aliens. I don't know who's taught you as English, but it certainly wasn't the British.
Sure, your ancestors and the ancestors of the folks who came before you, who came from countries in Eastern Europe and Western parts of Europe and Southern Europe, who showed up here on the shores through Ellis Island and went through the process to become citizens, if they were stopped in the middle of that process, in the middle of their hearing, and arrested and dragged through the streets and thrown out of the country and deported, people would think that was wrong then, and I think it's wrong now.
Okay, Riley Gaines, your response to that?
Yeah, well, I guess just to provide a little color to that, my husband is a legal immigrant. He came to the United States from
you're an illegal immigrant in America, technically, because your family stole Native American land and their resources and then kicked them out of their own lands. So you, the white person, whoever you are, you're an illegal migrant.
England back in 2018. He did everything the right way.
No, he didn't. He was an illegal migrant. So he might have moved from England to your America, but America is an illegal colony. So he legally migrated to an illegal colony.
I would describe my husband, I mean, I guess fully Brit, although now has his green card in the process for citizenship. I would describe him as more American than a lot of Americans who are currently citizens. He loves this country. He understands the freedoms that we have. He sees the trajectory of England, quite frankly. He is so grateful to be.
Oh yeah, I bet he can really see from across the pond very well through his American spectacles. I bet he thinks London's been overrun by Muslim gangs, even though it's got its lowest murder rate in fucking decades.
Here. To your point, I do think our legal immigration system certainly needs reform. I think that process needs to be sped up and made more efficient. But my husband, he respects ICE officers. And President Trump, the address that we heard last night, you have to acknowledge the things that he said are the things that he campaigned on. It's the things that we've.
Your husband, if he is English, means he's British. Your Donald Trump has just put a tariff of up to 15% on Britain. So he's not very patriotic, is he? He's not really one of us. He's a Yankee Doodle, is what he is. He's American now. He's a Brit who's betrayed us and moved to the foreign land of America, and now whinges about us from the other side of the planet. I'm sorry, I don't. Donald Trump has not helped Britain in any way, shape, or form. So for him to support him would just be stupid.
Voted for. So in talking about mass deportations or closing down the border, 77 million Americans turned out to the polls in November of 2024. That's what we voted for. So to see an entire political party, I mean, in terms of elected representation and even how the mainstream media presents itself, who is totally unwilling to concede in any form or fashion to the point where they're not even able to say that their main priority is to protect Americans. I don't understand how that's not a disqualifying statement.
Because the media company is not there to serve Americans. Media companies are there to make money for themselves, and they do that however they can. Where do you get the idea that a television news channel is there for your interests? Like, where's that from? I don't understand this concept in England, right? We've got channels like GB News, Talk TV, which are classed as entertainment channels, not news channels, so they can say what they want and get away with it, and then pretend they're news channels when they're not, and then say shit that's not true as if it's fact, and people believe it, because people are idiots in Britain, unfortunately. Too many of them. And essentially, you have BBC, Sky, and ITV are money-making machines. They make money. They don't care about me or you or my life or your life. It's about how do we make money for the business. They don't care about us. What are you on about? Since when did people start thinking that these news channels gave a fuck about me and you? Like, when did that happen? When did this happen? Maybe it was during COVID that you've got this delusion in your mind. That's like thinking McDonald's cares about your dietary needs because they're a restaurant. Of course they do. No, they're not. It's a fast food chain that makes money from murdering cows and selling you the carcasses of dead animals. And some of it might be delicious, but you're still hungry an hour later and you paid a fortune for it. It's about money. It's got nothing to do with your dietary needs, is it? So what?
By, again, federally elected members of Congress. It seems to me as if that's an act of treason. If you can't even pledge allegiance to your own nation, that's a total act of betrayal, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Brian.
When you sign a contract of employment, when you're at work, your first obligation is to your employer and your employer only. Otherwise, you lose your job, you become homeless, you can't pay for food, you can't feed your kids, you're fucked. That's how employment contract works. They make you put the business first, no matter what.
Brian, do you think if you're in the country illegally, you've committed a crime?
In terms of being here illegally, I mean, as the mayor said, there are civil offenses versus criminal offenses, and I think that conflating the two is a major issue. I would respond to Riley's statement before. I don't understand what is with this conservative movement to qualify somebody's Americanness. Who are you to say that somebody is more or less American because of...
Let me show you what a real American looks like. Just quickly here. Wait there. Let me just show you quickly. Right. This is what a real American looks like. That's what a real American looks like. Okay. That's a real American. That's another real American. See that? That's what a real American looks like. There's another real American, some more real Americans, some more real Americans. See these? See these? These are all real Americans. You notice how there's not one white person there? And that's all the Native American people there. See that? Native American? Oh, look at that. The white guy's coming to steal Native American shit. This guy's only got one leg. Shit. Anyway, Native American female. She doesn't look like any American woman. Not at all, right? Another Native American person. Native Americans. Do these people look like Americans to you? These are the peoples whose land that is. This woman and this man's families came over illegally. The Native Americans didn't invite them. They had their own laws over borders, who was allowed in, who was allowed out. Each Native American tribe had their own fucking immigration laws, right? Rules, as we would call them, but laws, essentially, right? In the old world. And your families, both your families, ignored that shit and illegally immigrated into these people's lands. These people's land, stole it, stole their resources, and tried to kick them out of their own fucking world. Their own nation, their own land. You, the white people in America, are the illegal migrants. Now, thankfully, in Britain, right, the white people got here first. So, I'm a native Brit. Doesn't matter to me. Although my family did migrate here, maybe 1,000 years ago, maybe 10,000 years ago, whatever, white people were here first. We didn't take other people's land. We might have taken other humans like us land, other white people's land, sure, right? But we didn't take another culture's land from them and then claim it was ours. No. You white people in America are the illegal migrants. You white people are the illegal migrants. You are the aliens. Not these people. Not these people, no. These people. You are the illegal migrants. This is fucking stupid. This is so fucking stupid. Your country is 250 years old. 251 years ago, your country didn't even exist. There was no United States of America. And now you're claiming the country you've created by stealing someone else's land is not their land, and you need to kick them out because your country's white people and Christian, not brown people.
Adherence to certain political issues. Isn't that inherently un-American?
I guess my question for you is then just that: what is an American to you?
It's whatever you want to be. We have freedom to do.
No. These are Americans. You guys are European migrants. Americans, European migrants in America. Americans, European migrants in America. Both of you guys are illegal European migrants.
To practice whatever religion we want to. And so it's so bizarre to me for you to say, my husband is more American because he salutes the flag and likes ICE officers. Who are you? Who is your husband to determine whether somebody is more or less American because of who they support?
If your definition to what is an American is anything you want to be, whoever says whatever they want to be can be an American, which is the exact same answer you guys give to the question, the very dreaded, controversial question of what is a woman, then are you saying that someone who currently resides in South Africa, who has never even been to America, who says...
A woman is an adult female human. The whole planet couldn't answer this question until I came out of hospital for being mentally unwell and told you all the answer to the question, which is an adult female human. And since I gave you all the answer... everyone stopped asking the question because it's the correct answer. I don't know why you all were afraid to answer this question, but yeah, a woman is an adult female human. It's a very simple answer, very easy question. Not only can I answer what inflation is, I can tell you what a woman is.
They are an American. I guess by your definition,
this
they
is
qualify.
this is such a bad faith reading of what I'm saying. My question for you
but that was
is,
your exact
you just
answer.
said your husband is more American
completely
than somebody else
unintelligent.
because he supports ICE agents. So explain to me how
That's
supporting
not-
ICE agents makes you more American
Right.
than somebody who doesn't support ICE agents.
My husband has fully assimilated to Western culture. He loves the freedoms
so that's
that
what
we
it
have
is. It's
here.
so it's assimilation. You
To a
have
degree,
to assimilate,
I believe
otherwise
so.
you are not American. According to Riley Gaines, if you're not
The idea that a British person would have to assimilate to Western values is insane. We are the West. He didn't have to assimilate. We are more civilized in Britain than you Americans. There was no assimilation required. If anything, he had to de-assimilate to fit in. I'm sorry, that is a lie that your husband assimilated. That's an absolute lie. Absolute lie. He was a British person. How does a British person have to assimilate into America? It's insane. That's insane. They already speak the language. Literally your country was invented by English people fleeing piracy. So your entire culture is almost English. There's no assimilation required. You're literally the British people who, couldn't hack it in Britain. That's what you lot are. You're the British people who couldn't hack Britain.
if you didn't assimilate enough, you're not American.
I think in terms of what it means to principally, I'm not talking about legally, of course I understand the argument of you need your paperwork, you need to be a citizen to be an American. Actually, you know what? This was one of the last conversations that I had with Charlie Kirk. It was that infamous influencer retreat in the Hamptons. Excuse me, did you just like groan to that, Mayor? I don't understand that.
God help us. I said, God help us.
I am entirely agree with you there. God, please help us.
Right.
One of my last conversations I had with Charlie Kirk was he.
Bearing in mind that God, here's the thing about God, right? Christians claim to follow what Jesus preached and taught, but Jesus believed in a God called Yahweh, the Jewish God, and Jewish people believe in a personal, unique relationship with Yahweh, right? Whereas Christians believe in a collective relationship with something called God. So there's not even a single Christian on the planet, on the fucking planet, who views the divine the same way Jesus did. Literally, Jesus believed that you had a unique personal relationship with Yahweh, and Christians all believe, every last one of them, that you have a collective experience with God. Like, they don't even view God the same way Jesus did. And Jesus didn't even call God God. His God's Yahweh. This is insane. How have we got people lying about representing Jesus even 2,000 years later? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Posed this question to a room full of us in the Hamptons, asking what is an American, and it left me kind of dumbfounded for a second because I didn't.
These guys are Americans. You are European migrants, and this guy on the right is the descendant, most likely, with all due respect, sir, of slavery. His ancestors at some point 200-300 years ago would have been slaves to some of you guys' families, and he was illegally brought to the Americans against their will as slaves and forced to work the land until they got their rights and freedoms. And he is most likely a descendant of those families who is now a mayor in a major city or town in America. And good for him. Good for him. So I don't really consider the people who were illegally brought to America as illegal migrants. They are victims of slavery. But the people who actually illegally went to America and took people's lands, you guys are the illegal migrants. The white people.
No, I'd never been asked this question. I didn't know how to answer this question. I never put thought into this question. But in thinking about it, yes, I believe my British husband is much more American than the members of Congress last night who couldn't even stand up to applaud no tax on tips, who couldn't stand to applaud.
There shouldn't be tips in the first place in America. There shouldn't be tips in the first place. It should be voluntary if you want to give someone extra money for a job well done. It shouldn't be expected. You shouldn't expect a handout for doing the job you're paid to do. Fuck off.
A 100-year-old veteran who was being awarded a Medal of Freedom or to applaud Irina Zarutska after being brutally and
So
horrifically and
the
graphically
good thing about
murdered.
being an American is that you get to choose what it is that you believe, your ideas. You could be a Democrat or
Kind
a
of like you
Republican.
get to
have the
choose
freedom
what
of
it means to
speech,
be
the
a
freedom
woman. Right.
assemble, the
She keeps trying to twist it back to the trans debate.
freedom of religion. You can choose these things. You don't have to stand.
This conversation has literally nothing to do with trans people. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you trans people out there. You know, live your life. But this debate has literally nothing to do with you. And she's already tried to bring up what is a woman, and then she's just said there.
Assemble, the freedom of you could be a Democrat or
Kind
a
of like you
Republican.
get to
have the
choose
freedom
what
of
it means to
speech,
be
the
a
freedom
woman,
of
right?
No, you don't get to choose what it is to be a woman. A woman is an adult female. Someone who is not an adult female who thinks they're a woman, who was born a male, has a disability and a mental disorder called gender dysphoria, where they think they are someone born in the wrong body of the wrong gender. It's called gender dysphoria. Why is she bringing trans shit into this? How does this fly? How is she an adult? This is like a childish debate.
Assemble, the freedom of religion. You can choose these things. You don't have to stand on one side or the other to be an American. People who
I agree with that.
refuse, that's called democracy. And people who are against
Agreed.
democracy, in my mind, are anti-American. And what you're saying and what has been going on is anti-democratic, and so it's anti-American in my estimation. You cannot tell people that you have to agree with me, you have to believe me,
It's
and you
not.
have to follow me.
No, you're
in
not
order to be
listening to what
American.
I'm saying.
It's absurd.
You're not listening.
No, he is listening. You're not listening to him.
My husband loves
that's what
America
you're saying.
because we have
No one gives a shit about your husband. Shut up about your husband. He's an immigrant. Shut up.
the freedom to choose. He loves that we have the freedom to our religion. We have the
That's
freedom
not what
to
you
press.
said.
We have the free. No, it is exactly what I said. If you would listen, I said my.
If you had the freedom of the press, why does Donald Trump restrict which reporters can come in and what questions they can ask at the White House? Doesn't sound like freedom of press to me.
Husband loves the freedom.
Riley, look, let
me
me just jump in. Riley, I would say that in relation to him assimilating to Western culture, just to remind viewers, Britain is part of Western culture.
Thank you, Piers. How the fuck did he have to assimilate to Western culture when he came from Britain, a more civilized country than America? Like,
obviously, so the assimilation is not
There's a
enormously
shift.
difficult because
there's a shift. What? From going woohoo to yeehaw. Oh, big fucking assimilation.
he's British.
entirely agreed, but I agree.
We are
Piers, but
a
there has
Western
been a
culture.
total
I don't
shift
feel like. I don't
in
feel when
England
I
and
go to
London
America
specifically.
that I'm part of. I'm entering some vastly different, cavernous new culture. Natalie, let me bring you in here. This whole debate about whether people who are in the country illegally are.
Imagine you get off at like an airport in America. You walk out the airport, right? There's like a buffet place. There's a McDonald's. There's a KFC. There's a Starbucks. There's a few office blocks and some nice houses, right? How is that any different to Britain? How is that any different, apart from people have guns? What's the difference? It's the same shit.
Are breaking the law. I mean,
There's literally no assimilation required for moving to America, apart from adjusting to the climate and the fact people have weapons. Apart from that, there's not really any adjusting required. Health system wise, don't look after your own people. Fine.
It's a crime. I'm surprised to see a mayor of a major city trying to suggest that it's not a criminal offence to be in the country.
It's not a criminal offense. It's not my suggestion.
It's actually not a criminal offence to illegally enter another country until the court in that country proves you had no legal right to enter. So if you enter illegally but have a legal right to do so, the courts have to prove you didn't have that right for it to be actually illegal. It's not actually illegal immigration until it's proven you didn't have the right to be there. So 99% of people most likely don't have the right to illegally cross a border, but there are some in the world who do for certain reasons, and they do, and our legal systems have to uphold their claims. We can't just pick and choose when our laws matter. And yes, our laws are being used against us to almost exploit us, but it's not just migrants who do that. Billionaires do that with tax evasion and tax avoidance. Businesses do that. with avoiding regulations and underpaying their workers and things like this. It's not just the migrant issue, but yes. So the solution to that is not by treating these people as non-humans and as criminals. It's by improving your borders and improving the systems that deal with these claims. That's how you deal with it. You stop as many people coming in, and the people who are managing to get in somehow, you make sure to deal with their claims so quickly that you prove who's illegal and who's not very quickly. That's it. That's how you deal with it. It's control of borders. We don't suddenly start treating this woman and man and child like a criminal and throw them in a concentration camp because they crossed a fence. I'm sorry, it's just bullshit. It's absolute shite. Once they've been in a court and it's proven actually they had no right to cross that fence and they shouldn't have crossed that fence, then you send them back. Fine. I don't care about that. Send them back. But if it was proven they were being chased by the Mexican cartel and fleeing for their lives, then yes, they did have the right to cross that fence, and you should protect them. You should give them jobs. You should help them work. And if they commit any crimes, then deport them. But if they don't commit any crimes and they work hard, leave them the fuck alone.
It's actually the law. The law.
And might I just add, Mr. Mayor, that if your paramount value that you care about is promoting and supporting democracy in the United States, a lot of these illegal aliens that you're importing into this country, the Democrats.
What do you mean you're important? Okay, so in 2025, 8,725 illegal aliens crossed the southwest border. So 9,000 illegal migrants crossed the border when Donald Trump was in charge last year. So what do you mean, you Democrats?
Democratic Party did for the last, I don't know, decades, what, 10 million plus under Joe Biden, aren't exactly coming from countries that even have democracies, let alone some of them actually aren't even countries. They're failed states, enter places like Somalia. I think we all know what happened in Minnesota. Right. I've never heard a more verbose and rambling answer to what should be probably the most simple thing that you could answer, that your primary duty is to defend Americans.
It's to uphold the American Constitution. That's his job.
Citizens. I've also never heard Democrats uncritically bring up, I don't know, the Constitution. I thought you guys hated that document. Right. But here's the issue, and here's what I would say, Piers. Here's how I would reframe this entire discussion. This weaponization of what it means to be an American, of immigration policy, we can all sit here and give our culture war definitions of what it means to be an illegal alien, immigration, legal terms, whatever. The point is, reason why people are fed up with immigration and illegal immigration is because it's not actually about immigration. It's about...
Isn't this really weird how this white European migrant whose family illegally invaded the Americans 300 years ago is now sitting here 300 years later on a glass screen in front of me in Britain, whinging about migration? Isn't it? Imagine her ancestors in heaven or in the afterworld or another dimension watching their great-great-great-granddaughter whinge about the very thing that built her entire fucking life. Imagine. And they'll just be sitting there like this. That's what they'll all be sitting there like,
It is a scam that big businesses, all these donors that are funding all of those candidates and congressional members that you saw sitting at that State of the Union address, they just want cheap labor. That's all they care about. I'm sure that's all your donors care about. And that's why you're seeing a degradation of American identity so corporations can suppress the wages of Americans. You're saying, wow, you know what? Your party can't even stand up for Americans who are hit by trucks, by illegal alien drivers. You think you care about the affordability, the lived experience, the economic reality of Americans? You can't even stand for killed Americans.
You are repeating a false
statement. No, there's an illegal alien truck driver that hit a 5-year-old girl. An illegal alien hit a 5-year-old girl who was president of the State of the Union. I could sit here for hours and give you the name of Americans who've been killed by illegal...
This is the thing, right? I'm not being funny. You could sit there for hours giving me victims, children, women and men of illegal migrants who have killed them, who shouldn't have been in the country they were in. And I could sit here and do the same thing with people who are in the country, should be in the country, and did kill people. You know what I mean? The only difference is you claim they shouldn't be here, so you're banging on about them, but you never ever bang on about the people who are here and have the right to be here who kill people. The Nationals. So, a good example is Rupert Lowe for Restore Britain, right? So he's gone on about banning the burqa, which is fine. I don't mind banning face coverings. I think that's right. I don't think you should be allowed to cover your face. I just don't think you should be allowed. I don't mind people covering their hair or their body. I couldn't give a shit about that. But covering your face, no. So I agree with him on that. But he's never mentioned all the white kids who go around on e-bikes or e-scooters, right, with balaclavas on, dealing drugs, fucking committing crimes, robbing people. He's never mentioned that. I've never seen a bunch of Muslim women in burqas pull up at a bank and rob the bank. I've never seen a bunch of Muslim women in burqas fucking rob a person in the middle of the street or fucking attack someone on a bunch of e-scooters and e-bikes and fuck off. I've never seen that. But I do witness crime on an almost daily basis by white people wearing balaclavas, face coverings, usually young people. You know, you'll never see someone my age doing it, because when you get to my age at 35, right, we're not pussies, we're not cowards. We're not afraid of our actions and what we do. So everything we do, we put our face behind it. It's only little boys who don't want people to know who they are and who they've fucked over and who they've hurt, so that they don't have actions for their consequences. They don't face accountability. It's all to hide their crimes. You will never see someone wearing a balaclava unless they're trying to hide from revenge. Even a soldier who wears a balaclava, right, it's because he doesn't want the enemy to know who he is. And so he can't target the family, right? That's why. It's got nothing to do with safety. A balaclava, in fact, in a fire situation, means your face would burn up. If you caught fire when you're wearing a balaclava, your face will burn. If you didn't have the balaclava on, it's very unlikely your face would burn, because you don't have a fucking piece of wool on you that's on fire. So my point is, why are people okay with whinging about illegal migrants committing crimes? And I'm fine with that. But you people never mention the crimes, the exact same crimes committed by the Nationals. So like 80% of people convicted in Britain of paedophilia and rapists of minors, or rape, are white and British. Nearly 80%, right? Now, there's about 5 to 7% who are white but not British, which would mean 87% of pedos and rapists in British prisons are white. 80% white and British, 7% non-British white. And then about 15% estimated, about 15%, so it could be 12, 15% of rapists and paedophiles in British prisons are black or brown and Muslim. So I've literally watched my country, England, for about 3-4 years now, scream and shout every day about this 15% of people attacking women and girls, and none of them ever mention the 80% attacking them. I mention all 100%. I don't want any paedophiles or any rapists. I don't care. I don't care if you're black, brown. I don't care if you're purple. I don't give a shit, right? Go to jail. I don't care. Whereas these people only seem to care about it when an illegal migrant commits a crime. Now, if you're going to hold an illegal migrant accountable for a crime to such a certain degree, you have to start holding Nationals to account, or it seems a bit disingenuous. It seems like you don't actually care about the problem you're talking about. You're only using it as a weapon to perpetuate your narrative. You're not actually solving the problem. You don't actually care about these victims. You only care about the victims when you can use their suffering to preach your bullshit, racism, essentially. You're treating a human being different to another human being that's committed the same crime based on where they live, or where they were born, or the colour of their skin. And I just don't think that's acceptable. I mean, call me stupid. Call me whatever names you like in the world. I couldn't give a fuck. I think it is morally, ethically, and intellectually stupid to treat one pedo different to a different pedo. I honestly do. I think it's the stupidest motherfucking thing I've ever heard in my life. I think they get treated exactly the same. The only difference is the illegal migrant, when he's in prison, could be deported to finish his sentence in the country he came from, which will have a hell of a lot worse conditions than our prisons, I can guarantee you that. But also, it means once they finish their prison sentence, they can immediately be deported. Immediately. So there's no, they come back to our society, you know. Whereas the paedophile who's a nationalist, we have to integrate them. We have to somehow have this paedophile released from prison, living in streets with children, walking past or near schools, right? Because they're not a migrant. They can't be deported. And we have thousands of them all around the country at the minute. Thousands. And he's also, don't say a word about it. We don't say a word about it. But there's literally thousands of paedophiles up and around you right now, anywhere in the UK. Anywhere. Because they've been to prison, they've been released. And they're not migrants, so they don't get deported. Do you know what I mean? So who's more of a danger to my child, right? Honestly. 87% of the people who attack women and girls in this country, or the 13% who shouldn't be in this country in the first place, apparently, and attack white British girls. Which should I be more concerned about? I am concerned about all 100%, and I think they should all get the same treatment. Now, for me, punishment-wise, I actually believe in capital punishment, sure. For the very worst paedophiles and rapists, yes. After, say, 3 of the most serious convictions, and after all appeals have run out, I'm not against capital punishment. I'm really not. After all appeals have run out. But if it's only a minor offence, forgive the pun, not intended. If it's only like a 19-year-old guy was in a nightclub and a 17-year-old got let into the nightclub because the bouncer thought she was 18 and the age of consent was suddenly 18. So the guy got done for, I don't know, a sexual misconduct with a minor, something like that. I don't know what it would be, right? I don't believe in treating that man the same as the other paedophiles. Now, when you're talking about these people who are generating child pornography with AI or using it to sell and make money, I don't believe that's the same as raping and ruining the lives of a child. Although it is just as severe, right? I would rather those people were forced to do labour. Now, I don't know where we got this idea from that we should not force prisoners to do labour in Britain, but I think the worst sex offenders, not the murderers, not the thieves, not those people, no, the worst sexual criminals, I think should be done for 20, 30 years of hard, forced labour. And they should make more money for this country with the hard, forced labour than they ever cost us. So that they can at least do something right before they die. And we'll fucking make them do it, or they'll die. It's as simple as that, right? I don't think forcing a nonce or rapist to do hard labour is against the human rights. I think it's almost justice. Almost justice. But we don't do forced labour in Britain, so, you know, we also don't have capital punishment either. I also think the most severe rapists could have their entire genitals castrated medically, and they could be given a device to urinate from. Medical device. They don't actually need their penis and testicles as rapists. They don't need them. It's the same as a gun owner who is proven to be irresponsible with a gun. You don't renew the license. You don't give them the gun back, do you? No. You take the gun away, you take the license away. So if a rapist has been proven beyond doubt, and after all appeals have run out, that they can't control themselves and are a danger to women, children, and people, fucking chop their genitals off. Pfft. I don't give a shit. I'm not a nonce, I'm not a rapist, and neither are most of you, so why would you care?
Illegal aliens. But you know what? The point is, we don't just need to allow illegal aliens in this country because they're not criminals. They depress the wages.
For God's sake. Can you Americans stop calling migrants aliens, for fuck's sake?
They destroy the culture of this country. There's too
That's
many
not
people.
true.
If you import tens of millions.
It's not true. You both, on this screen in front of me, are a product of migration. You on the left, your family were European migrants, and here you are on the Piers Morgan programme whinging about migration, even though your family and your entire family's life was built from it, and your country. And this guy on the right was dragged over by families like yours in slavery, which was a form of migration, but he was forced to migrate, his family. There was no choice. Your family chose to migrate and move to America and take other people's land and take him from his land with you, right? And you both are essentially success stories of immigration, aren't you? Both of you. A white European and a black African American. A white European who's now an American, and a black African who's now a black American. An African American, I guess. You both are massive success stories of migration.
Millions of people from other cultures.
not
You
true.
no longer have a United States of
Right.
America. Yes, you're seeing
So
more than the
all of her
GDP of
racism is
Somalia be
coming out
stolen
now.
from one
So
state. You're seeing
the more she
ethnic
talks,
enclaves and Muslim enclaves
the
happen
more
in the state
her
of Michigan.
racism
Look at
is being
Dearborn.
shown.
Dearborn is not America.
The more she talks, the more racist it becomes. The fact that she's saying people come
No, I
from
care about your
countries-
citizenship.
people come from
American
countries
nationalism,
in her
economic
mind that are
nationalism is
failed
about
states.
maximizing the value
People come
of
to
being
this
an
country
American
because they're
citizen.
looking
And
for
you know what?
democracy.
Obama.
All right, don't
Me.
talk over each other.
Because if you
Because
look
they're
at the
looking for
studies that
democracy.
Obama put out about wages, it's
come to
black
this country
Americans who
because
are the
they're looking
most
for
negatively
democracy.
impacted by
Please
illegal
don't talk
immigration
over
when it
each
comes
other
to
because I
wage
can't hear
pressures.
either of
Looking
you.
for opportunity. Well, tell
If
her-
you
tell
Okay,
her
cared
about
about black
guys, please stop
Americans, you would
talking
want to
over each
deport
other.
illegals.
I can't hear you.
Okay, well,
You're both
Well,
talking at the same time. The viewers
fine. So I would like to
cannot
talk to
hear
just-
either
I
of
was
you.
just
Let
accused
Let
of
me
being
ask
a
the mayor.
racist, so I'm defending
Please,
myself.
Natalie, let the mayor,
Right.
Mr. Mayor,
God help any man who goes anywhere near her. Fucking hell.
explain
you.
why you think Natalie's being racist.
absolutely. I think that, first of all, everybody, the fact that you mentioned people are coming from so-called failed states, people come here looking for democracy because they don't have it, looking for economic freedom because they don't have it. They're looking for, they're running.
It's quite rude that when someone's talking about such serious things to roll your eyes. Such an American girl thing.
From situations
Oh my god! That's what it is. Oh my god!
sometimes that are deadly, right? And so they come to the United States for safety, for security, for democracy that we've advertised to the world. So that doesn't matter. There were people who fled other countries that were not all of these countries she's talking about now, years and years ago, who came here from Eastern Europe, from Western Europe, from all over the parts of the world. For her to identify Somalia, just like the President of the United States did, to me is racist. At the end of the day, there are immigrants who come to America from all over the world.
There will no doubt be some very hard-working Somalians in America who have contributed to the American country, pay their taxes, didn't commit crimes, created businesses that employ people, and have helped raise children and make more taxpayers for the American people. Don't get me wrong, there are some bad Somalians. Somalia is a country rife with crime, piracy, and organised crime. So naturally, there are quite a lot of people from Somalia who are indoctrinated into a way of life that has crime as part of it. That's a normal part of a lot of African and some countries' lives. It's just normal in some Middle Eastern countries and some African countries for crime to be rife. Now, when I was down south, in the southeast of England, growing up in Surrey, I don't know if you're watching, guys. Hey, nice to see you. Hope you are all well. You know how everyone has to have someone to hate and pick on. Someone who's different to everyone else in the area. So everyone in the southeast of England where I was living, Cranley, they would always whinge about the gypsies, the travellers. Fucking pikeys this, fucking pikeys that, right? And in the northeast, when I moved to somewhere called Crawcrook, where my mum and dad live, right? They don't like outsiders because it's like almost a remote village on the edge of, we'll call it a high population area. So they don't really like people from outside the village. They don't like people who are new, who move in. Oh, those new people next door. Oh, it must be that new street. Oh, it must be that new family. They hate new things. They want to keep it the same. Crawcrook should stay Crawcrook. Now, when I moved to the west end of Newcastle, it is mostly a very diverse migrant area with lots of asylum seekers, immigrants. So the majority of the west end of Newcastle, or the white population, because they're vastly outnumbered these days, are quite racist, to be honest, quite racist. So when I moved to Bensham, Gateshead, it's actually the largest Jewish community in the north of England, right? And guess what? Loads of people are anti-Semitic. It's unbelievable how many of you out there have to pick on someone. You have to find some people out there who are different to you and make out that you're better than them. I don't know why. I don't know why it is. In the southeast, in Cranley, it was Pikeys. In Crawcrook, it's new people. In the west end of Newcastle, it's racism. In Bensham, it's anti-Semitism. You just all, for some reason, have to think you're better than other people and find a group of people to think you're better than. And for you, this white American, you for some reason think you're better than Somalians. Now, don't get me wrong, you might be better than a lot of them, but I guarantee there's a few very good Somalians who put you to shame. Put you to absolute shame.
They want to choose who gets to come here and who doesn't get to come here based on their nationality, based on the country they come from, based on the religion they practice, based on the language that they speak. And she clearly identified by calling it an ethnic enclave. This is ridiculous. To be able to create a country that is by calling it an ethnic enclave. This is ridiculous. To be able to create a country that is devoid of anybody else in the world except the people you choose, it is white supremacist to say that. It is racist to say that, and it needs to be pointed out. And they say it's culture war. The real culture war is...
You know, if a black man was telling me something is racist, I don't think I'd be laughing, unless it was ridiculous. But I don't think what he's saying is ridiculous.
The cleansing that these folks are doing, calling it immigration reform, when you're really just attacking black and brown people on the streets and shooting people in the face who understand and see that and are trying to defend the democracy that this country upholds itself to be.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I just want to clarify one thing that's been rankling me since you said it, because I've just checked. You know, is entering the United States without authorization or inspection by an immigration officer a crime? Yes. First offence, a misdemeanor, punishable by a fine or up to 6 months in prison.
Offense. That's what I said. That's exactly what I said, Pierce.
Yeah.
I said it's
crime, criminal, and we have the same thing in England, Pierce. You're being disingenuous. We have a criminal case and a civil matter. So if I download Shrek from the internet, right, it's not a crime. It's a civil matter. If I don't know, fucking... What else is a civil matter these days? TV licensing, right? Not paying your TV license. They tell you it's a crime, but it's not. It's a civil matter. And they can claim it's a crime, but it's not. It's a civil matter because it's a business, right? And they try to make out you have to pay them this money, otherwise you can't use a TV. Essentially, that's what they did for years. Although these days, they do accept that, you know, unless you watch live TV, you don't have to pay this sort of thing. But for many decades, you were treated they tried to treat you as a criminal for not paying a business, a tax they tried to force on you. It's basically, what's the word? Racketeering. It's basically racketeering. The BBC and the TV license system is racketeering. That's what it is. It's no different to a mob boss walking through my front door, demanding I have to pay him to protect this street, even though there's no protection in this street, right? And if he doesn't, he'll burn my house down. That is the same as what the BBC do. You either have to pay them money to watch something you paid for, your TV. You either have to pay them to use it, or they'll drag you into court and treat you like a criminal. It's racketeering. It's literally fucking racketeering.
It's a civil offense.
It's actually a crime, though. It is a crime. Your reluctance to call it a crime is interesting.
If it's a civil offense, it's a violation. It's a civil violation as opposed to...
Pierce knows this. He's just been disingenuous. Because in England, we have civil cases and criminal cases. So the police don't get involved in civil matters unless there's a criminal element. They just don't. It's not their jurisdiction. It's the court's jurisdiction, sure, but not the police's. The police's deal with criminal law breaking, not with civil disputes, all right?
Opposed to a crime as a criminal offense.
There are other types of immigration violations which may be civil, but actually the offence of trying to enter without authorization or inspection.
Without authorization is the key wording there, Pierce. Because if they have the authority of the American government that for certain asylum or refugee reasons like fleeing the Mexican cartels, they are allowed to cross the border. They have that reason and right. So they don't fall under that category, some of them. The ones who don't have that right, yes.
By an immigration officer is a federal crime. And it seems to me that this is a fundamental tenet of the law, right? If you try and come in without authorization or inspection, it is a crime.
Well, we've acknowledged that it's a civil offense. The reality is there are people who are being targeted and attacked who are going through the process. There are folks that are being pulled out of hearings. There are people who have been outside of courthouses, finishing their hearing and being arrested. There are children who are going back and forth to school who are being arrested and detained, right? There are babies who are being detained and housed over periods of time. This has nothing to do with crime. In fact, as a mayor of a city, I can tell you clearly that if we solved for the immigrants in our city, our crime numbers would be extremely lower than they are now because most of the crime in our city are not created by immigrants. It's just not. In fact, they are more likely to be the victims of crime than they are the perpetrators of crime. And
it's the same with schizophrenics, mate. It's the same with schizophrenics. People have this funny idea that schizophrenics are like murderers or go around attacking people because the voice is in their heads, when actually you are about 10 times more likely to be attacked as a schizophrenic because people persecute us. They mistreat us. So yeah, I think I'll leave it there. Unfortunately, that's the truth. There's a lot of, like, an immigrant in Britain is far more likely to be attacked than attack someone on the basis of statistics from probability, considering it depends where you live though. Because if you live in like Birmingham, where the majority of the city's population are non-white, you're more likely to be attacked by a non-white person, right? So if you live in Israel, you are obviously more likely to be attacked by an Israeli, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? It's just basic probability. It's not like ridiculous. And in London, you have lots of black English families, and so in those communities, if you were the one white guy in a black community, you would be more likely to be attacked by a black person because there's no fucking white people there. And the same as a migrant in my community is more likely to be attacked by a white person than a black person. Than attack a white person, because 80% of Britain is fucking white. So on the odds of probability, a migrant is more likely to be attacked by a white person than a migrant attacks someone in Britain. But we don't talk about that, of course. It's against the narrative.
This idea that...
Anyway, I'm not going to watch the end of the entire video. It's already very long. Thanks for watching. Bye.